The Field is a gut-wrenching drama set in rural Ireland during the 1930s about obsession, family secrets, fear of strangers, and the role of the church in setting rules in small communities. Richard Harris gives an awesome performance as a man determined to purchase the field that he has tended for years for his son. When a rich American appears on the scene, eager to purchase the field to gain access to limestone deposits, the farmer's resentment against the injustice of life comes to the surface in an act of violence. It's a movie with Shakespearean passions. Movies can help us, the viewers, to connect with the sacred that is within us. A field is center stage this morning in Matthew's Gospel. The church, and indeed the world, is compared to a field in which wheat and weeds grow side by side until they are separated at harvest time. On reading St. Paul's convictions about the expressive nature of the Spirit, I recalled reading an American rabbi who once said, "Like most people, I live in two worlds. Much of the time, I live in the world of work and commerce, eating, working, and paying my bills. It is a world that honors people for being attractive and productive. It reveres winners and it scorns losers. I'm also a religious person, and I live in the world of faith, the world of the Spirit. Its heroes are models of compassion rather than competition. In that world, you win through sacrifice and self-restraint. You win by helping your neighbour and sharing with them rather than by finding their weakness and defeating them." In his book, 3 Seductive Ideas, Dr. Jerome Kagan, professor of psychology at Harvard, he writes as follows: "The desire to believe that self is ethically worthy is universal." He points out that children as young as 2 years old evaluate their behavior in terms of right and wrong and need to think of themselves as good. It is popularly assumed that people who violate the law in a serious way, violent criminals, gang members, bank robbers, that they are immoral people, people who don't care about society's rules or what others think of them. But psychologists and prison chaplains who spend time working with prisoners often learn something different. To their surprise, they learn that prison inmates hold to a very strict moral code. It may not be our moral code. It may not be a moral code we would find admirable or even acceptable. But in the prison setting, there is behaviour for which you gain approval, not ratting on your friends or associates. And there is behaviour that sinks you to the bottom of the moral pecking order. Imprisonment for hurting women or children, for example. Similarly, gang members may appear to us of having total disregard for moral considerations and the public. But within the gang, they risk injury and hardship to live up to its rules. In Mario Puzo's novel, The Godfather, Michael Corleone says of his father, Don Vito, he operates on a code of ethics he considers far superior to the legal strictures of society. The Irish series Love Hate, currently showing on RTE, relays a similar message. I recently ran across a story about a Native American tribal leader describing his own inner struggles. He described his inner struggles as follows: "There are two dogs inside of me. One of the dogs is mean and evil. The other dog is good. The mean dog fights the good dog all the time." Someone asked him which dog usually wins. And after a moment's reflection, he answered, "The one I feed the most." Good people will do good things, lots of them, because they are good people. They will do bad things because they are human. In the daily, if not hourly, wrestling matches that sets the tones of our lives, sometimes the angel wins and sometimes the angel loses. With luck, we will not be overwhelmed by guilt when the egotistic impulse defeats the angel, and we will understand that the victory is temporary, not permanent, when the angel wins. We will understand that to be human, we need them both. But we never stop asking ourselves, what kind of person do I want to be? Many people are a moral puzzle. The badness of bad people we expect and can forearm ourselves against it. But the badness of good people takes us by surprise and hurts all the more. Jesus seems to have a unique understanding that we are a mixture of good and bad, and teaches that the best thing we can do is to take a look at our own field. Author and journalist David Denby has written, "You must be tempted or you cannot be good." Someone once said that the measure of a person's moral seriousness is what the person would do if they were sure that nobody could see them. A church or a synagogue that only admits saints would be like a hospital that only admits healthy people. It would be a more pleasant place and easier to run, but that's not what we're about. The Book of Wisdom is powerful with its emphasis on mild judgment and leniency, in advocating that God's love is not tentative, that our failures do not alienate us from God. That is why we as Catholics offer and celebrate the sacrament of confession and penance. This is why Protestant liturgy emphasizes that the church is home for an imperfect people, and why Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement for sins, is the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. The image of smoke rising is often invoked to describe our prayers drifting gracefully to God. The Gospel speaks of the darnel being burned. 1 week on from burning smoke and bonfires, where the smoke is fueled by revenge, we know that there are bundles of wheat and weeds in every community. It is worthwhile to recall that the World Council of Churches condemns revenge as an attempt not to transcend suffering, but to extend it, to make someone else hurt as we have been hurt? Does the world really become a better place, they ask, if we hurt someone for having hurt us? Walt Disney say that movies find a way to touch the unspoiled spot within us. Ingmar Bergman expressed a similar idea by noting that movies can reach the inner recesses of our souls. Remembering the lessons of the field will help us as we take a look at our own field. Let's dare to believe that Erich Froman, in The Art of Loving, captures the true nature of God with these words: "You are bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, and I will love you no matter what. Nothing that you will do will ever make me stop loving you." Amen.